Yeah, yeah. Blessings, much love to all, wherever you are, however you are. Jive. This is a quick little video to follow up with a video that I put out a while ago with very different lensing and very different perception towards the same concept. But after just putting out this blown away video, noticing there's some traffic to this other video, and definitely didn't elaborate my point all the way. And the other video is called "Is Meat Food? Is meat really food?" Something like that. And so the idea is that meat is obviously food, but the question is for who and for whom is meat food? That's really all the question is. And in that other video, I referenced Sadhguru, and I posted the link of Sadhguru, and he's giving a really intensely, elaborately beautiful yogic perspective on what eating meat does to the physical body in terms of karma. And whenever, if you've ever heard someone say the Akashic records or the Akashic field or anything like that, what is it really referencing? But all that has ever existed in terms of the elements. You have fire, water, air, and earth. And then you have ether. And ether is Akash, Akasha, Akashic. And it's the idea that it's like the glue kind of pulling all of quantum matter together with all the elements amongst them. And when you eat an animal, a mammal in particular, it had emotions, and people have philosophies about whether animals have emotion, but you can see the difference between a cow and even a deer, or a dog and a cat. They express emotion, and that emotion it's an aspect of a personality, and that's identity, and that's individuated identity. So it points to the existence of a soul as an individual, sovereign, sentient being, conscious, able to choose choice. People may not think that about insects or like ants or even fish, and that's I'm not claiming to be like a scientifically proven kind of perspective. That's not where I'm coming from. I've been multiple times evaporated into the sea of oneness through yoga and through other insight mechanisms. And it's like all there is one. There's one thing, and then we see all the different shapes in between it all. The way that it all conglomerates together is many, but there is only one amongst all of it. And yeah, I grew up eating meat. I grew up hunting. Gutting deer was part of my chores, like sweeping the garage. And I was really, I think the term is numbed to gore and like death and blood and guts and stuff, and desensitized. That's the word that I was looking for. And I think this culture has been as well. The community has been as well. But something happened to me when I consumed some psilocybin mushrooms and worked with a beautifully intelligent human being in a ceremony of ayahuasca. And this beautifully intelligent human being was like a doctor. A doctor goes to school for a long time and then gives you some insight that's supposedly helpful and can potentially shift you into behaving or choosing differently that assists you in your well-being. And I was assisted in a similar way by a shaman, a human who has dedicated their life to assisting the one in all of its forms as different humans and whatnot in remembering the truth. And I was assisted in this way, and I couldn't help but see something. And very simply, it was the first time I had ever gone a week without eating meat. For ayahuasca ceremony, traditionally there's a dieta, and it's like a preparation diet to get your system, to get your body, to get your vessel cleared out and light and clean and receptive to the consciousness that you are about to work with. That is this ancient ceremonial wisdom plant. And that was a big shift for me. That was in January 2015, and I remember my poop had never been so pleasant. I thought I had become normalized and desensitized to like poop being unpleasant, and I'm a human, so I fart. That's just what humans do. And that had also been desensitized and normalized and actually encouraged in my family culture, farting and burping and like silliness around basically digestive dysfunction, if you think about it. Turning it into humor. But it started coming back to me as like karma, where I was like getting super intense social anxiety because I'd have to like have, bowel movements in really inconvenient moments. And I had had dairy issues since I was a kid. I remember like in the 90s in Michigan, they Lactaid came out, and I was on Lactaid, and then there was like lactose pills, and I was still eating cheese and stuff, and I love mac and cheese, and I always remember how I felt, and it would always be a terrible feeling. And then my health situation dramatically changed in 2014 from a series of kind of auspicious experiences, but that pinnacled and peaked in its intensity in June of 2014, where I felt like I had the flu, but it was like beyond what a flu felt like. It felt like I was dying, and like couldn't move body, couldn't stand up without getting like about to pass out, dizzy kind of vibe. And went to hospital. They said I had mononucleosis, or I think it's called. It's like mono, but I hadn't had it in high school. So like, oh, you got it late. I was 24 at the time. But it's like your cells are weak, and your immune system, and your adrenals, and your pituitary, and your endocrine, and your thyroid are shot. And they're trying to refurbish, they're trying to heal, but you're not having the proper nutrition, is basically what this Western doctor said at Cedars-Sinai. And I was like, okay, well, what the heck do I need to do? And they're like, you need rest. I was like, that's all I can do? Like, yeah, rest and water, you need to eat good. And I think they gave me like some whatever Western chemical drug vibes, steroids and whatever that stuff is. And they were like, it's turning into, I think they said it had turned into Epstein-Barr, and it was like, this is something that could give you basically like permanent adrenal fatigue. Like your adrenals could be wounded, and long story short, I just felt awful, and I was like genuinely interested in a remedy, and I wanted to never feel like that ever again. And that was like by August, I started feeling better. By September, I was like, okay. October, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to like being fit and being healthy, because I hadn't worked out, because I pulled my Achilles in February of 2014. So the whole of 2014 was this huge death year physically. And I get first day back in October, I get on a bench press because I was still in the CrossFit mentality. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be healthy, so I'm going to be strong. I'm going to get on the bench press. That's hard. I'm going to get back in shape. And I get on the bench press, and I go, first rep, and something goes out of my back of my left neck. And I remember going, oh God. And I put it on the rack, and I got up, and I was like, something's wrong. And within 5 minutes, it had like seized up, and I felt like a bone had like shot out or something, but I didn't see it or feel a bone or anything, but I felt like something broke or snapped, or like a disc bulged or something. Call it the chiropractor. I go, and they're like, yeah, you just popped a disc out of your spine, or I forget what two, or your L or something, vertebrae. You're screwed up, kid. I was like, awesome, good stuff. What do I need now? And that chiropractor shared an office with this Chinese herbalist, and the Chinese herbalist saw me in there, like, you need to work with us, but we can't see you until you read this book. And it was a little pamphlet on GMOs, like the American GMO and it was like a 60-page tiny little pamphlet, literally you could, like a pocketbook size, and it had all these stories about how the American topsoil was like really permanently damaged because of the what are they called, the gust, the wind gust, the wind bowl, the dust bowl, and then after that they tried to like fix it with chemically growing things and chemically engineering things, and all this stuff. And after I was like, wow, okay. And then I went back to them after I read it, and they did a food test, and I had like flares on everything, definitely dairy, grains, some legumes, nightshades, but they were like, you still no red meat, but you can eat white meat and fish. And it was just like everything that I thought that was food was all of a sudden off limits, and I was now stressed out because I wanted to be healthy, but the path to being healthy was all of my food was taken away. And this was towards the end of 2014, and then I met this human being who was a dedicated shaman, a shamanic healer, somebody who walks the walk of communing with plants and using the intelligence in plants to assist other people in arriving and merging into coherence and harmony within their own mind, body, spirit complex. And the way that this man spoke was just like, he seemed so still, and he wasn't selling me on anything, and wasn't had no agenda. I didn't just sign up for anything. And then then I found psilocybin, and psilocybin was not the full shebang, but it was this little experience that showed me beyond the veil of what I had previously seen as reality. And this one really intense experience happened when I was in a grocery store in Vegas, and I don't remember the amount, but it was a good amount, and that was like almost peak experience, and I was kind of being taken care of. People were driving, and someone was driving to the grocery store for food. And I remember being in there and seeing the format of the whole grocery store, and how the things that lasted longer, had longer shelf life, were in the center, and everything that basically needed to be replenished quicker was all around the outside. And that was all of the the frozen stuff was in the center, and then all the dairy stuff and the meat. And I remember walking to the dairy and seeing the milk cartons, and I remember feeling and seeing every individual udder that had to be pulled to get the milk into the carton. And then I saw when I say saw, I meant like I had a psychological, emotional, mental perception of the reality that was a milk carton. And I saw how much of the milk was most likely going to not be used. Like, it was going to go bad before it even got drank and utilized. So it was just a milk, an udder got juiced for no reason. And then all of the eggs that would have turned into actual birds, they're just like this mucousy plasma that was going to be whisked into a different texture so that people could chew. And I was pretty fucked up. And it was like a process of death. But I had been aware of that death, but not from not from that perspective, not from a quantum perspective, not from an Aquarian light being perspective. I grew up in Michigan, you know, as the son of this dude who played rock and roll and hunted. And it was part of my chores, part of my reality. And I was indifferent to it. It was just something it was no different than this brick being brick. It was just brick. The shirt's just yellow. That's what it is. And so yeah, is meat food? It's obviously food, but food for who? And if it's food for you, do you know what it means to kill? Have you done it? Did you take that chicken? Did you take that animal? Because it might be different for you if you're the one that has to do it. Or maybe not. Vibes. I'll probably speak on this continuously for much time to come, but this is part 2 of Is Meat Food? Much love to you. Blessings on the journey. Namaste.